Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around this beautiful, beautiful world. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Khurram Sadiq. Hi, Khurram. How are you today?
Hi, Biliana. I'm fine. Thank you.
Dr. Khurram is neurodevelopmental psychiatrist, an autism specialist, an acute care specialist. There's a lot of titles. You're a blogger and vlogger, but also you work with the NHS Trust, one of the many NHS trusts in UK, and that is amazing. But the reason why I have you today is because several hours ago, you actually became a third-time TEDx speaker, and this is so super excited for me. So congratulations for your third TED Talk.
Thank you so much.
So for all of you, I put the link in this live event in the comments. I'll put the comments below if you can see the link, but feel free to go and watch it after the interview, what we have today. And you're going to see the superhumans that exist amongst us. It's a very, very exciting TED Talk. So let's start with very few questions. You are a very famous doctor. You have so many followers on so many platforms around. Why did you decide to do a TEDx talk?
Well, TEDx talk has always been very, like, when I started listening to it in 2011, 2012, they were very fascinating, very simplified. Again, and very much according to the evidence base that we used to get. Like in our specialty in medicine, we do get talks, but again, they're very bland. Again, there are a lot of scientific knowledge, a lot of numbers, but there's no mention of people, patients, and I find it to be quite detaching for me. So once I came across TEDx platform, and at that time somebody introduced it to me, I said, "Oh," I looked at it, and I was completely invested. And then as I was going further into my profession and climbing up the ladders, and I noticed that uh, TEDx speaker brings about a credibility as well. So if you have an idea, if you're credible, then it will enhance the credibility, and it will help you uh, kind of spread your message that you have, your idea worth spreading. So that made me, and again, it has been a long journey. Like it's been, I've been working on it since 2015, and generating ideas, working on those ideas, and now I've got a few ideas, and those have become my niche. And I'm picking one niche area every year, and I'm trying to deliver an idea worth spreading through the TEDx model.
And this year was the theme of autism, which is quite huge. It's a lot of pain there going on with a lot of parents with kids with autism and a lot of adults with autism. So why did you pick exactly this theme for 2021?
Well, autism has always fascinated me right from my first year of training, when my boss asked me to see a patient and who had a diagnosis of Asperger's. And when I read about it, I was so fascinated by the explanation itself, because there are a lot of stereotypes that goes on, especially where I come from, that part of the world. Initial training, we were not really taught about autism as such. Like and again, it's not just where I come from; it's everywhere. That there's a stereotype about autism. And then I had a few opportunities to work and develop some services, autism spectrum disorder, back in 2010, and then I became more fascinated. And two years ago, I started working I started giving my like putting my energies into doing some autism work and ADHD work, and then that blew my mind away. I'd never seen myself so satisfied in my life. Uh, and so it was as if I was listening to stories. I was listening to stories how I was trying to resolve. I was trying to problem solve and to come to a conclusion. And that made me, I think, the miseries, the talent, uh, the 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 amazing abilities of these individuals, that actually inspired me to basically deliver what I delivered a month ago, which we gone live yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was, and again, this is a platform where I want my message to be heard and to be listened to. And since yesterday, kind of messages that I've been receiving. It's amazing.
It is. Alejandra Prowse. Hi, Alejandra. She's in, oh my God, South America. Alejandra, I'm so sorry. I literally blank which country you're watching on from. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But it's South America. So she's watching from South America and she's saying congratulations, greetings for you. So it's huge for all of you watching right now. If you have a family member who have autism, or you have a family member and kids where you're quite worried about their behavior, please watch Dr. Khurram's talk, because he explains really well what are the different symptoms of autism, so you can actually kind of pre-recognize some of those symptoms in your family members, and you can obviously contact Dr. Khurram to have a chat with him. And I know that you do 15 minutes free consultation, so feel free to reach him. It's not just because he's a TEDx speaker now, but because he's an absolute specialist in autism, and that's the big reason why I have you today for an interview. So here's another question. In your talk, at some point, you shared something which really, the first time when I heard it, really moved me. One of your patients said in one of your sessions, normal people do not like different. How did you react when she said that in your session?
I had goosebumps all over me, and it touched me in a way like which kind of opened so many doors in my mind. And I've always looked at the verbatims from from the patients, and it has always been very, very helpful. But this verbatim was something that shook my soul, and I just could not stop thinking about it for days and days to come. And then that's why when the opportunity came, I just plucked it in the very end of that talk, because this is what defines what they go through, people on the autism spectrum disorder without being diagnosed, those unlucky ones who are not diagnosed till now. This is what they go through. This is the indecisiveness, or the limbo that they go through all their life, and that best explains it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alejandra, you are from Chile and you're watching from Chile. Thank you so much. I literally, my brain went blank. I do apologize, Alejandra. For all of you watching today, please put in the comments where you're watching from, because I would love to hear where you are plugging in today and you're watching our interview with Dr. Khurram. In your talk, you were mentioning quite big names, and that really was getting my attention straight away, because you mentioned that Susan Boyle, which we all love in this country, we absolutely love her. Dan Aykroyd most probably is in the spectrum, but also Tim Burton, Elon Musk. And also what really triggered me was Albert Einstein. Can you tell us a little bit more about Albert Einstein?
Yeah. Again, with autism spectrum disorder, especially those who with with high IQs and above average IQs, I think they have this capability of changing the world. And there are so many names speculated, which I'm not going to take because that's not fair on them. But Albert Einstein, when I was looking for my talk, even before that, the only reason I brought it up, because at that time when he was there, autism had just been born and just came to the surface around that time. But there are specialists which are working in certain good universities, are doing some research, and they are in the kind of agreement, going through the life stories and the biographies, that he was on the spectrum. So that I was I was speculating that, but that gave me the confirmation that I needed. And sometimes you can retrospectively look at a person's life and you can easily see, especially people who are the specialists, who have seen thousands and thousands of patients and thousands of presentations. Like, they only need to look at a person and speak to a person for about 10-15 minutes to be able to ascertain that the person is somewhere on the spectrum. I'm not talking about the full assessment in 15 minutes, don't get me wrong. It takes a lot more, but you get an idea that the person might be on the spectrum. So that made me take his names, because I was talking about the people who had difficulties, and then there's on the other side of the spectrum with which people who were socially awkward, or are socially awkward at times, but at the same time they have the IQs which have actually changed and modeled the world around us. And it was because of these people that world is what we see of it right now, because of their attention to detail and how they see things which nobody else can.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Alejandro says, thank you so much, Biljana. Always following you, and your great interview. So interesting what the doctor does. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Alejandra. For all of you watching, Dr. Khurram did a TEDx talk, which is called The Superhumans that exist amongst us. So he explains really well in his talk why he calls them superhumans. And please, please, please go and watch his talk, because it's absolutely amazing. And also, one thing what absolutely amazed me is the story of the Japanese boy who wrote a book. He has an autism, and it's a 10 years old boy, if I remember very well. He has an autism, and he wrote a book, The Reason Why I Jump. And that book became a bestseller book. So they are superhumans, and they do exist amongst us. So I want to take you behind the scene, as this podcast is for soon-to-be TEDx speakers. Lots of the people out there don't understand why writing a script for TEDx is so important and so critical. And I know we discussed this a lot behind the scene with you. So I want you to explain to the audience why TEDx speakers should write a script and then follow the script.
Yeah. Again, many of the time we feel that the person is kind of natural. And again, if you look at my talk, like even I failed to, I would have failed to pick up that I was reading from a script or I had prepared a script. Like this morning, a friend of mine called me and he was asking about the script, and I said, would you believe that I worked on it for about 6 months, and the version that I finally delivered was version 10.4. So it means there were 10 different versions, and then there were subsets of each version, and we finally came to the conclusion of that. Again, it's because it's such an important message, and it's in such a short span of time. You have to be structured, you have to be very articulate, you have to be very direct, and at the same time you should be using language that matters, and that can only happen if you have something very structured. And believe me, initially, because I don't follow structure, and I sometimes when talking public speaking, I do a loose format of that before TEDx talks, but after that I have changed that thing about me, because in order to be credible, in order to be able to send your message succinctly and in a way that is coherent, you need to have that. And once you practice it, you can change the words around. Like even when I delivered it, I changed a few things around and I improvised a bit, because I had the liberty to, because I knew what was coming ahead and what were the things that I could change at that time, looking at the audience or the ambience or whatever came into my mind at that time, and I improvised it. But it's so important to have that structure. It is so important because your message have to be very succinct. It has to reach the audience. And again, I believe that that talk is not about us who are delivering it. It's about people who are delivering for, and the important message that we carry with ourselves. It will be futile if we go on to that stage and not able to deliver that message which are meant for that people. It means that an idea has been lost forever, because again, with the same idea you won't be able to go on to the TED stage and do another TED talk. That time is gone. So for that very purpose, please work on the script. It is tedious, it will take time, it will suck the life out of you, but it will give you that enthralling experience at the end, which I'm enjoying at the moment, and so many of my TEDx colleagues are enjoying at the moment, that I am so glad that I went for the script. Otherwise, this disaster can ensue anytime, and
Yeah.
this I'll be with you again.
Yeah. You said it so well. And the reason why people are so against a script, because they kind of believe that writing a script is going to sound, they're going to sound like robots, which is so far from the truth. Writing a script, as you said, is to choose the right words to make that impact on the audience. And when you learn them, you just during the practice you might change few words here and there, but you deliver that super powerful message what you have inside you, and that is the reason why we always recommend to write a script. Great. So for those of you who are watching right now, if you have any kind of questions, please put them in the comments. I'm sure Dr. Khurram is going to be super happy to answer them as well. I can answer all kinds of questions for TEDx from a coach perspective. So here's something what I wanted to share with the audience. We both work on your talk, and we implemented 7 social media hacks in your YouTube details, YouTube description. And we also implemented 11 hacks in the content, in the delivery, and the title. And these are hacks which are literally helping to the engine on YouTube and all the social media platforms, once the talk is now released, to catch that video and to literally disperse it, to diffuse it to all the people around the world who are interested in autism, because this is your topic, in superhumans, in everything what we plugged in as keywords and different specific words throughout the talk and on YouTube. So be very, very aware that it's not just the talk, but it's also what you put on the description, how you describe the video, what is your title. These are all very, very important elements, and that is how you make a very successful TED Talk. So give us your tips for practicing your talk, because I know you did practice it very well.
Yeah, I think you should. What I usually do is I start with the script, with the paper script, and I go through it over and over again. Like before I used to go to sleep, because it's so difficult if it is 3 A4 or 4 A4 pages to kind of memorize it word by word or sentence by sentence, or the sequence of the paragraph. So you should know which paragraph is ahead of you, which paragraph is behind you, and you should know the end words of both the paragraphs, the one that is ending and the one that you're starting. What I used to do was, before going to bed, I would kind of recollect it in my head or read it in my head. And if I get stuck, there was just the paper script was lying just beside me. I would look at it, then go again. And even when the lights are off, I was doing that exercise over and over and over again. And I remember once when I was practicing, and it was not going on well, and even with the paper script, and somebody suggested to drop the script altogether and said, let's do half of it. And I did half of it. And then when I was traveling back, because I work an hour and a half away from my home, so I was going back. I said, no, it's not going to work. I've only left it 2.5 weeks. And in those 1.5 hours, I actually was able to memorize it, because I stress, we undermine our abilities, our minds. Our minds are really, if we put ourselves to something, it will happen. And within a day, I memorize it, which I could not memorize in the past 2 weeks or so. So again, those exercises are very important, going through it over and over and over again. Some people have visual memory. I have a visual memory of the paper. So whatever I write, I want my script to be dirty, not to be very plain. If it is plain, it does not, I do not get any associations in my brain. It will be very blank. So anything that I've written, anything that I've cut, it should stay as it is. And then I make a photocopy of those, and I keep it with myself till the very end, because that is one script that I've worked on. And I remember those paragraphs as it's coming into my head, what's going to be next, not sentences, but paragraph. This is the next paragraph, and how it works. Plus, I think tongue twisters are very important. I used a lot of tongue twisters as well. Before going on to the talk, I think I spent at least 10-15 minutes doing the tongue twisters over and over and over and over again, because that gives you the fluency. So that your mouth is not stuck. You have to do some physical exercises with the mouth, with yourself, just before you're about to present to any audience, whether it's a rehearsal or not, so that your muscles are softer, are relaxed, and are ready. So
Yeah.
basically, these are the tips. And again, everybody has their own way of doing it. This is my way of doing it, and it works.
I I'm gonna share something behind the scene. What was the day before your talk? We had a chat, and you said something. What I'm gonna totally allow myself to mention here. Dr. Khurram said that he's so grateful to his family and his wife because they have been listening, he's practicing and talk, and they know the talk by heart, the same way how he knows his talk. So you said that you were so grateful to your family and their patience, because
Yeah.
they're super patient, but also they did amazing support to you for during the whole practicing
All right.
time and on the day. So big
Yeah.
thank you to your whole family for
Yeah.
supporting you on that.
My family as well as my work colleagues, because my trainee, she sits in the same room, and she literally had the torture of going through it every day, literally every day. I would rehearse in front of her. Another colleague of mine, she was my Xbox, and she used to come and I would rehearse, and then eventually I went to the team and I would rehearse in front of them. So again, find as many groups as possible and do the rehearsal right in front of them, because that's the best way of basically uh,
Getting yourself out there.
gauging yourself as to how you are.
Yeah, exactly. Alejandra said excellent tips. Thank you so much for sharing.
Right.
Thank you, Alejandra. A few more questions. You know, a lot of people right now want to do a TEDx talk, but they never get that step to apply for TEDx. Or
Yeah.
there are also people who apply for one event, one TEDx organizer, and they get rejected and they give up. What would you tell them today?
I think the important thing is to persevere. Like it's I don't know, probably I was successful in 20% or 15% of the application that I sent. So sometimes it doesn't match your theme, and sometimes it's the the, the time is not appropriate for you. But before that, even before going on to a certain stage, I think you need to know what your idea worth spreading is. What is your idea? Because a lot of people ask me about the talk and said, I cannot do it in 5 minutes. I cannot explain to you in 5 minutes. You have to sit down and you have to understand what would you mean. If you have an idea which is novel, you have to do a lot of research to see whether this idea has been presented the way you want to present it. And if it has not been presented, then you start on a journey and start conceptualizing it. And once you have conceptualizes and know what you're presenting, only then you should go ahead and write an application. Not before that stage. If you don't have an idea, or if you just have a very vague idea and you have not worked on it or developed it, I think you should take your time and develop. It took me 3 years to develop or conceptualize my ideas into into at a point which came to a point where I could actually start applying to different TEDx organization.
Here you go. Divine time for everything, as I always say. Very last question. You did hire me as a TEDx coach, and I did ask you this question, but I was captured on a completely different video. But I would like you to share the importance of hiring a TEDx coach and why people should actually hire a TEDx coach as me or any other TEDx coaches around.
I would not do a TEDx talk without a TEDx coach. I think because they're professionals, they know what they're doing. They know where the strengths are. They know what are the what are the things that needs to be used to attract the audience or get into the mind of the audience. How they can make your talk very powerful. Uh, Again, with Biljana, we had initially had an interview, and then I thought about it, and I had a discussion with my wife and said, "Shall I go ahead with it or not?" And she said, "Yes, just go ahead," because I like your ideas, but again, I was not sure where I was getting to, because I'd heard very horror stories as well. But again, I believe in the person. When I spoke to you, I knew that you were the right person. So I think my talk would not have been powerful if I had not met you, if I had not worked with you. I think the things you generated and the cyclical approach that you had to have the hacks in, which and the examples that you gave me at the talks, which I listened to and I was like amazed. I said, no, I never thought about it. And I actually picked the same things that they were repetitive about. They would sneakingly incorporate it into the talk and would bring it up over and over again so that it becomes a very subliminal message. And it is so important to have a TEDx coach or a TEDx trainer, because they can help you cut down on the learning curves. And like I've been lucky, and I've never done a talk without a TEDx trainer because somebody suggested it to me and I stuck with it, and it has been very successful. So don't go without having any professional help.
Thank you so much. Any final words? Let me just check very quickly the comments. No, we don't have more questions. Any final words for all the people who are watching us right now?
I think with regards to public speaking, it's a skill that you harness over a period of time, and again the skill set changes, your mind frame changes. Like today, my friend was telling me that my TED talk, the first TED talk in 2019, and this one, that there is a massive difference between the two. Like I have evolved as a speaker, as we speak, and again you keep on evolving and you keep on developing new facets. So never stop at anything thinking that you have reached that stage, because there's always going to be new learning experiences, new things to learn. And again, you should have the urge to kind of improve on what you're doing, not for your sake but for the audience that you're presenting to, because your idea is powerful enough. If you don't present it in the right way, or you don't harness it in the right way, the audience is going to miss on a big idea, and that's not fair on them.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. So all of you, please go and watch Dr. Khurram's TEDx talk because you're going to be highly inspired. And today's Friday. We all need this kind of inspiration to look for something new and to have a much better understanding about autism and people with autism around us. Please share his talk with all the people you know around you who have family members with autism, or even colleagues in the office with autism, because that's going to help them enormously to understand a lot more what exactly the people are going through, and it's going to help also the parents with what they're dealing on a daily basis with their kids. So thank you so much for watching today. Please again watch the TEDx talk, and if you are inspired and today you learned something new, please share this live with all the people you think they're gonna also have a lot of value from listening to this interview. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna see you next Friday. Love you all.